So welcome to the Ambassador Good Time Ear Tango Radio Hour. This is our interview with Mike Owens, director and co-creator of Amazon Prime's show Danger and Eggs.
A kid, an egg, a park, they do stuff, but there's more to it than that. It's kind of hard to explain, sort of like just butterflies. Kind of sort of, it's just, it's kind of hard to explain. It's called Danger and Eggs.
Hey Mike, how's it going?
Greetings. How are you? I'm doing well.
Because you're in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, in St. Paul, Minnesota. Am I obligated to answer every single question?
Yes, it's imperative that you answer every single. It has to be done. Yes, that's the only reason. So you might want to consult your lawyer and all that. So
yeah, he's here. Don't worry.
He's there. Okay. I concur. Okay. I'm actually recording this for the Ambassador Good Time Ear Tango Radio Hour through Woo Radio, and that can be heard every day at 1 o'clock or 10 o'clock on Woo Radio at Woodbury EDU. So hopefully tune into that. So I think I got everything figured out there. So anyway, I met Mike about a year ago at the Annie Awards, and that was when Danger and Eggs was nominated for an Annie. And as I remember, you didn't get an Annie, but you did win an Emmy Award, which is like, that's pretty good. And,
yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. And you won it for Danger and Eggs for outstanding directing in an animated program. So how did that feel, winning a big award like that?
It was pretty epic because so many of us, this was our first time around making a show. I mean, I've worked on a lot of shows, but being the co-creator of a show, this first show for Shaddy and I, first show for a lot of my crew, a lot of the crew here and the crew in LA. So we had been, we'd got some other awards, like we got the Annie nomination for character designs of Philip and Dee Dee. We had, for Critics' Choice, it's like Best Animated Series or something, which was great because it was like up against The Simpsons and Rick and Morty. So not, you're just like, that honored to be nominated thing is pretty cool. Still, we saw Patrick Stewart, so that was a win.
Ooh.
So winning the Emmy, though, was, they had put us up in the balcony in the theater, so we right away were like, oh, I see what's happening here. Because usually you expect to be, a couple rows back at least.
Right, so make it easier to get to the stage, I guess, huh?
Yeah. So, but, we, of course, all held out hope. We were all very excited to be there. Two of the directors, Sarah and Drew from Minnesota, came with me because our whole directing crew was me, Shaddy, Drew, Sarah, Sam Riegel for voice directing. So it was like the whole crew of directors sitting in the balcony, wearing our fancy pants, hoping for the best, but, just happy to be there. And then when they announced the win, we, of course, all lost our minds. But there was that long pause where they had to loop the music for us to get to the stage. We had to run up the balcony, down the stairs. So the presenter just awkwardly holding the Emmy for a really long time. It was great. We did the storyboards and the animatic here. Scripts, the writing team and design was out in LA, and animation was done by Seiram in South Korea.
Wow. Okay. So you got a whole international crew there of people.
Yeah, and voice recording in New York for Adie Bryant because she couldn't go far from Saturday Night Live. Philip's voice was done here in Minnesota. The rest of the actors were done out in LA. So a logistics of a show spread out. Amazon gave us the chance, and that was great. We pulled it off.
Yeah, right. And now, is this your first TV series, animated TV series, or?
Yes, of anything that I've can attach my name to. I've worked on. My first job was actually working on Animaniacs in Chicago at Star Tunes, which we have in common.
Yeah.
And since I worked on that, worked on Pinky and the Brain, all those great things, which was awesome for beginning career stuff, especially not being in LA. worked on a lot of other shorts and boards for other shows, commercials, but this was the first, like, this is we're in the engine of this train, this nonstop train of making a series. Mm-hmm. So epic.
Yeah, I noticed you have a Vimeo account, and you have your demo reel on there as for director,
yeah.
I think.
Yes.
But I noticed on there you had some other films that you worked on that, that were like a series. It's almost like this, not the same character, but it was like a female character who's kind of, one was a hall. What was it? What is she? She's
a peer counselor.
Right.
Telly, the peer counselor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a short for the part of the Nickelodeon Shorts program. I was just sharing that with Sarah today. That was because I was animation director at Puny. Puny had an office here and in LA, which was the work that Shreddy was doing out in LA was getting that kind of relationships with Nickelodeon Cartoon Network. Mm-hmm. So when Nickelodeon had those shorts programs, we were getting a lot of those, and that's one of them. Mm. And the other one was a pitch for where there's a girl in there that's Iris Opener, where she's got the purple hair, mm-hmm. and meeting the wizard and all that stuff. That was a Puny original pitch for Disney, a little, not a full episode, but a proof of concept episode for something that Puny was pitching to Disney. So we were doing a lot of stuff like that. Puny sort of started, when I started at Puny had just got a relationship with Yo Gabba Gabba, that mm-hmm. show on Nickelodeon, doing the animation for that. And just this led to a lot of Hollywood production connections versus advertising animation, which is most common in the Midwest. And so we were just in the circle of people making shorts. So we produced a couple of these. We're pitching stuff, which is where Danger and Eggs came from, pitching and developing stuff at Puny.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so you worked on that. And then, so how did you get involved with Puny in the first place? Did you?
I had, I had moved up here from Chicago. I was, most of the beginning of my career was in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Like I said, working at Star Toons Animation, mm-hmm. doing Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, working at Calabash, working on, there's sort of these studios that everyone coming out of Columbia College will work in. Mm-hmm. Calabash Animation doing Trix Rabbit, Lucky the Leprechaun, Toucan Sam, all those serial commercial icons, and really learning the craft of animation because the quality for those was so high to do hand-drawn animation. And then moving up to Minnesota, opportunities were a little bit less, where, trying to adjust to living in a new city. And I was still freelancing in Chicago, and then seeing what Puny was doing, they really pulled together artists that are doing, there are a lot of comic artists and illustrators and people that are just doing work that was character-driven and more interesting. So I really wanted to find my way in there. So I met Shaddy and Vincent through like community art worlds where you can tour people's studios, and just finding out who was who in town and who was doing the work that I was best suited for, and that I wanted to work at. So started out part-time and then just stayed on because we kept getting character animation stuff, and that's really where my strong suit is. And somehow I've managed to have a character animation career only living in the Midwest. Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't born here, but my whole career has been here.
Yeah, so you mentioned that. Where were you born? Not there, but...
Not here. I was born in a place called Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It's famously known as the Flood City because it's been flooded 3 major times. Mm. But it's a steel town in Pennsylvania, in the Appalachians. My first memory of life was the night before the 1977 flood. So I think I always psychoanalyze myself and make that as the beginning of where Philip comes from, seeing disaster as one of your first memories.
So there it is. So this was your
Yes.
first concept. You've got a safety rules too. When you walk down the stairs, keep a hand on the rail.
Yeah.
And he's coming out of a large chicken, it looks like.
Yeah. That was sort of the first time the manifestation from my head to paper of Philip. I just randomly started with safety rule 2. It was like trying to figure out, like, is that what his story is going to be, is telling safety rules? But it did come out of wanting to make a character that was driven by fear. And then making him super fragile and being literal about it just made me laugh a lot. And of course, living out of a chicken's butt was great. But it's just that idea of like being super fragile and, you know, going out into the world, fear being one thing that everyone has in common, was just like something I wanted to explore. I was a super fearful kid. I was afraid of water and sand and bugs and all that stuff. So somewhere that was deep in my guts, and it manifested in an egg.
Well, you can't get much fragile than an egg, so that's pretty good. But I like how this started off that. Now, how did the other character come in? DD Danger?
Danger. Yeah, it was a very long journey for Philip. Like, it took us 6 years of pitching, and it till someone landed it. But it started out just as Philip, and it's kind of a long story, but I'll try to give it the most interesting way possible. So while I was working at Puny was wanted to work with huge. It's a place called Huge Theater. It's a improv theater in Minneapolis, to create a short animated thing using local improv actors.
Talking about safety. Here they come.
Oh yeah, it's welcome to my neighborhood. So everyone in the studio pitched ideas, like one-page pitches, put them up on the wall, and then the actors from this group called Splendid Things came in and just sort of looked at the one-page pitches and see what was interesting to them, and they all agreed that they all were like funneling towards Philip as an idea, which was just Philip at the time. So we made a short film that was really loose story structure, and, like, you know, collaborating it Puny with the whole crew there, evolving the story. How can we make this into a short? And one of the turning points, meeting with Shaddy and talking about it, was making the Philip like mascot size, like 6 foot tall, which would relatively make the chicken gigantic like Godzilla.
Right.
And that just opened this whole new world of, you know, not just breakfast food jokes. And it became about, you know, this delicate creature in a dangerous world, with this chicken that was destroying a city as it walked through like Godzilla. You know, and Philip sort of would, you know, come out and see this path of destruction behind the chicken and feel like he has to perform some sort of triage, but he's too nervous to really help anybody, was the general premise. We kind of knew who the character was. Eric Noble, who did the voice in the short and is still Philip, was 100% spot on perfect Philip that matched my brain version of Philip. They improvised the story based on conversations and drawings. We edited together the story, made the short, put it into festivals, did some things, and then the idea of let's pitch this with the other stuff we're pitching. And it kept getting turned down because could a neurotic character carry a show? Was sort of like the basic feedback. Like, is that too much? Like, does he need someone to bounce off of? And somewhere along the line, whether it was a development exec we talked to, I apologize for not knowing exactly where the advice came from. But it was, if he had a buddy or a partner, like someone to bounce this stuff off of, you might have a better chance. So, you know, this was developing and failing and pitching and failing constantly. And then this idea of who is his buddy in this show, and just the idea of the opposite. It was the easiest route to go. So whereas Philip is afraid of the world, Dee Dee is taking it on, and she, we started talking about and doing sketches of her Dee Dee's past comes from a long line of Evel Knievel daredevil families. Her grandparents met riding the motorcycles inside the big steel ball at the circus, or so she had a lot to live up to. Just trying to figure out her motivation, because Philip I had thought about for most of my life. Collaborating at Puny, we were talking about Philip forever, so inventing a new character that paired with something you knew really well was a challenging thing. And to make it not, because the short was was an older audience thing, not in a way that like the first scene is a city bus getting crushed and catching on fire. That was another like too far thing for people. So we were, finding out their character dynamic, because Philip is a neurotic egg was either too not weird enough for Adult Swim, but too weird for Cartoon Network sort of thing. So bringing in Dee Dee suddenly made this balance and made their opposition interesting dynamic to play with.
A kid, an egg, a park, they do stuff, but there's more to it than that. It's kind of hard to explain, sort of like butterflies. Kind of sort of, it's just, it's kind of hard to explain. It's called Dangeronics.
So it's really nice because you start the whole world like in this park, so you get to know all the characters and the sub characters, which is like Dee Dee's. I guess it's her dad, who's always in a like permanent, like what is he? He's just always like
he's permanently broken. He's, he is Roy Danger. He is, he's the Kmart Evel Knievel. But he's just broken from being so dangerous his whole life, and Dee Dee wants to be just like her dad. And that's what she aspires to. But the joke came out through, collaborative situations that he's wearing a neck brace where he can't speak. So he's telling her no, but it's and she's like, thanks, Dad, that's great. So they're both two characters kind of, Philip's mom is a giant chicken. It's just a chicken like. They don't have conversations. Right. So they're sort of like two kids on their own a little bit. And sort of free to run in this endless summer that they live in.
Yeah, and you can really see the two opposite characters, and it's funny because, there's so much dialogue driven in this show, but you also have a lot of action going on, so it's not just and what I like is they're not sarcastic to one another. They're very, just like, hey, they're just always like, hey, why don't we do this? And they're like, yeah, we could do this. And well, I don't know, maybe we should do, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that was, I'm glad that comes across, because that was very intentional to not, that no one is, neither of these two, even though they're opposites, they're not judging each other for who they are. Like the character that's neurotic or has serious anxiety problems like Philip does, can often be the butt of a joke. And Dee Dee just never calls him out on it. She actually tries to help him through things and teaches him breathing meditations and stuff like that. So, and if it wasn't for Philip, Dee Dee probably would end up like her dad, because she's so leap before you look, and he's look before you leap. So
exactly. So Aaron Johnson wrote.
I know Aaron Johnson.
You know him.
Yeah.
Okay. He says, out of all the ideas that you come up with over the years, did you ever imagine that Danger and Eggs would be the one thing that has gone on this far? Is there a lesson in that?
Good question, Aaron Johnson, who I know we went to school together. It's hard to say. I've always felt like there was something about him that was going to work. Because when I tried it at first before I was even working at Puny, I was trying to work with people doing 3D animation. Could be a 3D character. Is it just about him giving safety rules? Is it is it something that do you teach first aid to children? I don't know what it could be, but something about his character always. People seem to be attracted to it, there was an appeal to him, him being that vulnerable, him being that delicate. I don't know. Something about him always seemed to connect with people. I think that's why Eric's voice worked, because there's something he identified and brought so much more to the character that way, the cadence, the way he talks. So it's surprising it went on some level. I'm happy that Philip exists in the world for sure. Even if it was just that idea, this is of course way better. But I just like the way people respond to Philip. It makes me pretty happy. And the dynamic and the friendship between these two characters really worked in a way that, they have this buddy system mantra of you look out for me and I look out for you. Like that came out of the process of the neurosis of the egg. So the fact that it even leads to that sort of thinking of you look out for me, I'll look out for you. We're all fragile kind of stuff. All hindsight stuff that I'm talking about now, I just think he's funny. He's funny the way he talks. He's funny the way he moves. There's no logical reason why he has arms or legs, but nobody really cares. I have a thing, if you see a lot of my work is inanimate objects personified in a different way, because you could say he's Humpty Dumpty, but he's something else entirely. He's just fear manifested. So maybe because that's such a big part of my personality my whole life, Aaron, yes, that's probably the reason why. That's probably why that one floated to the top, because it's the most me.
Now, so when you started to put this together and you started to pitch it, how did you go about, pitching? Did people get it right away, or did they kind of? Was there kind of a?
Sometimes there was like a big learning curve for pitching. So, and like I said, at the time, Puny had an office in Minneapolis and in LA. So, Shaddy being in LA was able to be in the room and sell the character and the idea of the show. And then we were doing the artwork and developing the character visually in the visual style. And we've failed at that a bunch of times. And it's just sort of like whatever you can do to get in the room and pitch. There's a spark there. Someone's reacting to something, and you take their advice and you see where you can lead it. And it was optioned, I think, once or twice at some other places, if I remember correctly. And then sometimes that stuff just goes away. So it all came down to persistence and failure, and failure and persistence. That's like the thing I learned most from this whole experience. I mean, my whole career in general, but this in particular, because we really took on something big that is not typically done the way the way we did it.
And what does the egg mean to you? Is it what is it in? I don't know.
I started right off the bat telling you what the egg was.
That's right.
So
Exactly.
I don't hide from my anxieties anymore.
Or your anxieties. Yeah, right, exactly. So when they finally gave you the go-ahead and said, okay, yes, congratulations, we're going to start off with the pilot episode. Here it is. How does that work? I mean, you're where you are, and everybody else is like, okay, let's go. Was there someone that was like a producer that came out and said, all right, hi, how you doing?
Not for the pilot. Like the pilot was done, I don't think they do it anymore, but Amazon was doing their pilot season approach to new ideas, where they, there were 6 different things that were green light, and they would judge it by feedback, audience feedback, ratings and all that sort of thing. So we only had to produce the one. It was the option deal. We actually did the first step was do an animatic with the scratch track, write the script, give us some artwork. So we made it through that gate. So there's it's never like green light go. It was very much we like it, we're going to take it off the market for a while and option it.
Now, when you option it, I mean, are you going to different studios? Like, hey, we've got this, and are you interested? And they say,
up until, once it's, as my understanding, once it's optioned, that means we can't show it to anybody else.
Right.
So they're definitely interested. So we were showing it to anyone who was interested, and then good timing, meeting up with good people at Amazon, and they said, cool, good for the pilot season. Again, make the animatic, write the script, so we can see if we love the idea, we love the characters, does it work as a show? So, that was Chatty writing the script, me doing the board, Chetty came back to Minnesota for the production of it. We had a very small bare bones crew. We had a local producer just project managing, keeping track of things. We had a compositor. We had, an assistant and a couple of designers. Very bare bones. Like, we were so used to doing shorts with a very small crew at Puny, but those were like 3 minutes. To do an 11-minute one was the challenge for that. And that was just getting the animatic done. That was just getting okay, let's let you make a full pilot. Then you're connected with Amazon to get the voices. That's why we were able to find A.D. Bryant and have this production studio in South Korea. So they start, once you're ready to make the pilot, and they're, the animatic is good enough to like see it as a show. Okay, go make that episode then. Change the, first and third act, but make it.
Right.
So there's still going to be rewrites. There's still going to be, we have to do the production Bible. We have to put together a crew. So it was still a very small crew in Minnesota, but we had the team in Seiram to do animation. We had Amazon to help us find all of the voice actors we wanted, from A.D. Bryant to Weird Al Yankovic, down for the series. For the pilot, we weren't there yet, but you start making that dream list straight away. When you realize that, like, wouldn't it be great if so-and-so could do this, and there's someone there to go, yes, let's call them, is a pretty crazy experience. We had to, it was insistent that Eric continue to do the voice of Philip, because it couldn't be more perfect, and all Amazon had to do was hear it. And you couldn't have done better. And we put those. Eric and A.D. had never met. Like I said, she was recorded in New York. He was recording here. So it was put it together with whatever you can.
Right.
So there's a lot of details I know that I'm leaving out, but I think that we had just been through. Everything is relative, like I said, we've been through these shorts, working with, bigger studios. Now can you do it with your stuff 3 times as long? And that just became a series of that once the pilot was successful, and like, now do the series. So you just like, okay, now it's exponentially growing again. So it's a non-moving train.
Wow. So that must have been really exciting just to see. I mean, you've done other shorts, so you probably have seen them come to a certain point and they just never went on, or they just kind of said, okay, we're going to stay here.
Yes. Yeah, some of them would be just like part of the summer shorts and they'd live online. It's just part of, we get through the part of a development process to see if something goes, and there's a million reasons why a thing doesn't go. That's the thing we've learned too on the process, is you can't really get that discouraged, because if you're prepared, sometimes the timing is bad. Sometimes you have good timing and the right person, and your artwork is a couple sketches, but that might do the trick. And like, there's a million stories and a million opportunities that are going to come and go, and it just, right place, right time, good content, passion to do it.
Okay. So so let me just make sure I get this straight. So you basically would pitch a show to someone. They would say, great, we like it. Let's make a 3-minute short of that, just to kind of see give it a taste of what you've got there, and see if it has legs or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how official of that happens in a lot of places. The 3-minute stuff were because Nickelodeon did 3-minute summer shorts where they were trying out new ideas. Like the Tally Silverman was Laura Sneebly's idea, and I think she worked at Nickelodeon and pitched internally, and we were just a production company to do it because we had, because of Puny being connected in LA. So I don't think that's necessarily the common path. Usually it's because some places I've talked to, it's like I'll show a pitch and they'll say that's a great pitch. And I ask them what the next step is. Come back with a script, or someone might say come back with show me a sizzle reel. Everyone's going to be kind of different. It's getting either the initial idea hits, or it doesn't. The pitch for Danger and Eggs was really simple, very barely wordy. There was like one line description of each character and a lot of Philip saying things in his Philip way, and it was bright and it was colorful and people could see it as a show, and then you could talk about it further and what comes next. And so what the logical step is, I can only speak from this experience, is because we were going through that pilots program, there was definitely milestones that were sort of planned out for us, and we could have stopped at any one of those.
Okay. Aaron writes another question. I think this might be a joke, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Says, can you talk a little about the color palette of Danger and Eggs?
I don't think that's a joke.
No? Okay.
A little bit about the color palette. Sure. It's pretty intense. I intentionally there's a shared color palette between Philip and Dee Dee. It's sort of like the basic colors. Like I work in Flash or Animate a lot, and I started with the most basic colors, your basic cyans, your basic reds, and just started from the most vibrant possible. And trying to build Dee Dee off of that exact same palette. Works out great, except when she's standing in front of him. Sometimes her hair would disappear, so you learned, that slight tint difference, which you don't know until you're there. But until she crosses in front of his big overalls, then her hair just vanishes. But just her fiery tunic that she's wearing, like she's ready for action. It just, and the Philip with just the red helmet and just the emergency and the first aid colors were coming in there. He carries that first aid kit around with him all the time. And so that, everything, I think we should have built everything off of there, and then knowing that the main location was going to be a park, a green space where everybody came. And so how does green of a park work with these intense palettes of the main characters? It's always the trick, right? It's like the Bugs Bunny Daffy Duck thing with Maurice Noble was main characters are either black, white, or gray, and your backgrounds are colorful, and you have that contrast. We had a lot of colors going on, and it's been sort of the design vibe that Puny aspired to, and just really just going for new, bright, bold color palettes. All of that has its tricks and its difficulties, and we went through so many different approval stages for what the colors of the park were. I was doing very fall colors, very Chuck Jones looking colors. They wanted definite green, but it was vibrating so much with their colors, so we had to make them work in their main stage. That was the trick, without losing their core colors, because everything is built off of their core colors.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, color is definitely. I mean, were you the ones that are in charge of the color, or did you have someone come in and?
Not once we really got into it. I mean, we had our director come in. Evan came in, and he was art director at Puny as well, so we were used to working together. So he went through a lot of, here's my sketch from the storyboard. He would do all the master paintings of like the first episode, Tube of Pain. Inside the Tube of Pain is like this. It's a small world, very black light. And he that's all Evan. It's great. So no, it was not all me. I start, the general color is the starting point, but color is one of those things that's a definite learning curve for me. I think it's something to definitely study, and it's with this whole process of working with collaborating with so many people, as you go to the people that are good at that thing.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything. I know enough because I've been a part of every part of the process and pipeline from effects in betweener to having a show, so I understand all the parts. But it's so nice when there's someone who's like they just have that eye for color. Please do that.
Right. Okay, so I want to go into your Vimeo account here, because you've got some interesting things in here. Not just your director's reel, but you have a bunch of little films, and I
curious.
really like the car and the monkey and car.
Thanks.
Teaser. It's just something about that. Let me see if I can play this. Of course, you're going to hear it, but you'll see it later. But let's.
Yeah, there's music from the Eels on there, so I hope he doesn't sue me.
Uh-oh. Should I not play it or?
I don't know what the rules are of that.
1959.
But I have it on my Vimeo, so Eels, I'm sorry, please call me. It's the perfect song for this. That's all.
Yeah. So if you can't watch it right now, I mean, it's just kind of this very odd looking, it's like a 50s car, like when it first came out, back then.
Yeah.
It's just this whole talking about this car, how great this car is going to be in the future, and then we see inside a black and white garage of all the non-colorful things from the 50s or whatever. And you've got this giant car just kind of sitting there which is really unique because he's got an interesting character design on him. He's
thanks.
He's got like the window of this car is not, there's not eyes on it, but it's like
I feel like
chin.
you just have to show it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's on my Vimeo page. I'll take the brunt for it. It's fine.
Definitely go check that out. But now, was that something that you were coming up with, or did you just do it as a one-off kind of?
No, that's the forever back burner project that has been started with my good friend Greg Shear in Chicago when we were going to school together, and we've been joking and drawing and talking about it forever. Mm-hmm. And then our friends Wendy and Dave joined in, and we started. We're always talking about the stories, and it's lots of world building, interesting characters, and always come back to it when we don't have any work or we have something else. And lately, I've just been diving deeper into it and working on the script, doing this. I did this test scene a while back, just to try to make the world exist. I mean, it's this mix of stop motion sets that are built in my attic. And hand-drawn animation and some stop-motion character stuff. It's like this mixed hybrid that I want to try in a story world that's like less SpongeBob and more, I don't know, maybe Twin Peaks is too far, but like not reset episodic animation. We saved it's more like if I had to. Over the Garden Wall was one of the greatest things I've seen in years. Mm-hmm. That's that miniseries, and like this being a miniseries would be my dream because it feels right. It's those British miniseries. They're like 5 episodes long, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a viable thing for animation, I'm hoping that it will be soon. I think it would be interesting. So it's one of those things I feel like I just need to keep pushing and making it real and exist because it's been a hard sale.
Yeah, when you mentioned stop motion, I've seen this a few times, and I didn't even notice that there were sets, that these were actually stop motion sets. But
it's a mix of, like, I cheated on a couple on those things, but on my Instagram, there's a lot of images of some of the sets that you can see. I show a lot of progress stuff on my Instagram, which I like to show behind the scenes of these little sets. I always think that stuff's interesting, and hopefully other people do too. So yeah, I'm off the track a little bit of the question, but
no, not at all. I mean, and we have another guy named Mike Roberts who's kind of does what you do. Is he goes out and just makes these little shorts, to prove a point or to just experiment and just keep his hand in animating. And that's what he does. And so if you do go to Mike Owens' Vimeo page here, it's under Mike Owens, just one word, and you'll see all sorts of fun stuff. I like the potato. Is that?
Oh, that was we just made that one with real live potatoes.
Okay.
There's this. So my creative partner Wendy and I are making some short films and doing a lot of original content stuff right now and trying to create new stuff. And so when we get these chances to make really short, quick things, to just sort of experiment and try things, there is this animation festival, I guess you'd call it, called Hellivision Television that was started here in Minnesota. Got a grant to basically open platform, make animation. Here's the general theme. Don't overthink it. To get people in that mood of making stuff, and because there's a lot of talent here, and it's anyone who does this stuff. It's you have all the ideas, but to finish something is different, right? So this was sort of like no judgment, make the thing. It's not going to be longer than 2 minutes, so just get it out there in the world. And that's where Potato came from. This is the second. We made another film for one of these festivals before, because it was we did it in a weekend. I had these photographs of an overgrown potato where the roots start coming out that I thought looked like a planet, and I've always wanted to do something with that. I have this rig in my attic that is an old record player that I'm using as a turntable to film green screen objects and animate them. So it was a way to practice, filming potatoes and just getting assets. So 3D in like the lowest budget possible way. And that's kind of because that's what Monkey and Car is going to be. It's, Car is ultimately I see as a solid object, where Monkey is a hand-drawn character, and the sets are real. And like, how can we build that library and that show in an efficient, fun way without full-on 3D and just trying something new? It's fun to like sort of break the mold of what can be done without just being the novelty of that, because there could be it's a walking, talking car, and that's the end of the novelty. Trying to push that has been the challenge for that project. So it exists for that reason. I try to pitch it, but I'm gonna make it on some level, no matter what, until even if it's just a test scene of Car shuffling his broken body down the driveway, guttering smoke and dripping oil. That'll thrill me. So everything's baby steps. Like, I feel like I have so many things that I want to do that I just have to keep them in progress and then put them out there when they're done. The process is what I enjoy most, and results, I'm always like, that's great. Now what do I do?
Yeah. We were talking about this earlier, how, a lot of the things I've found is if you do shorter films, not like, 3-4 minutes or half an hour or anything like that, but stuff that doesn't take you a year to get finished, that's usually a good way of building a collection of work, just to kind of play something out and get it to a certain point and then decide if you want to go further. You've got like something called Dead Fred here with a bunch of cats.
I was just talking to the writer today, someone I'm collaborating with on that. We're working on she had someone she wrote the song and had someone perform it, and it's a character I've been writing and developing back and forth with Bonnie, and so that trailer was sort of like this pencil test. It's sort of where we left off last, which was a while ago, as you can see by the date. But I'd never fully let things go. Like I was just emailing with her today because I want to try to take that trailer to the finished animation, or at least color keys, and because it keeps me in practice of the idea of developing visual things when I don't have a paid freelance gig to do that, because that's hard to come by, especially in the Midwest. As I like visual development, I like pre-production, I like storyboards. So the best way to do that when you're not getting paid to do it is just do it. And just try little things. And it's hard for me to say because I feel like I should have had way more short films done. Didn't finish my student film. Huge mistake as far as I'm concerned. The idea of finishing is everything, because it's never going to be perfect, but if it's going to be done, and the things you're going to learn by getting through the process, you can't learn any other way.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Sorry to smack down the harsh reality of it.
Oh man. So your crew I'm gonna let everybody know. So you had one season of Danger and Eggs? Is that
Yes.
what? Okay.
Yeah, that's what they purchased, was one season.
Ah, okay. And that was just done just to see how it went and if they might go on to something else?
I don't know where it's leading, where it's going. I mean, it turned out something that we're all super proud of. I mean, it's got an Emmy for a lot of first-time people.
Right.
So it made a lot of people happy. It reached a lot of audiences that are often overlooked in animation. So it did a lot of great things. If we were able to find new and upcoming talented people locally. So all in all, good. Where it goes from there, I'm learning how unpredictable this stuff is, and there's the flood of, what's to watch on TV. I don't know. I'm honestly on like some level amazed that anything gets made or done, because it's a lot. It's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of negotiating and money and ego and tears and all that stuff to make a cartoon. Sometimes you got to remember you're making a cartoon. And that's why, things like Potato are so satisfying, because that's all it is. But yeah, again, don't know if I'm answering the question, but
no, I think so.
Your questions are unlocking lots of things in my head.
Oh,
so,
good. Okay.
Good interview.
Yay. All right. Well, hopefully everybody likes that. I mean, I just find it interesting to see, that you finally got this thing going and it went right to the top. And, it's like now you're there and you're just kind of, what's going to happen now? Or, you're always just,
Yeah, and the lesson of that, for me is that idea of not resting on your laurels, because no matter how shiny an Emmy is, that shine goes away quick, because lots of people have won Emmys, and it feels weird because it's such a huge honor and such an awesome situation, but that's never the end of the line. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do next? So you can sit around and wait for the next, to like just continue on with the exact same thing, because that could still happen, but I can't let other things slide. So this is, I have this burst to finish a new short film, work on Monkey and Car, pitch some new stuff, whatever. I can't wait. I did sort of, after the show was done, I didn't do shit for like 8 months, and it was great because no one ever gets that opportunity in life to do nothing, and it was actually really hard to do nothing. So I'm very fidgety, and I always feel like I should be doing something, but to just like, today I'm gonna walk in the woods for 5 hours, and that's it. Doing volunteer work with the national parks, whatever, anything to just let I used every part of my animation brain so intensely, for this whole ride of Danger and Eggs. It was nice to just decompress and then come back and start creating new stuff.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think with any project that you make, it's like, you work so hard on it, you're thinking of it 24 hours a day. Yeah. And something in the middle of the night wakes you up and you go, oh, wait, I figured it out, or whatever. And yeah, so it's, and then once it gets out there, you finally got it done. It's a point where you just have to like take some time off and kind of recharge.
If you can. I mean, I know it's hard because, like, the job, working professionally in animation, I mean, it's different, a little bit different for me here, but if people just have to jump from project to project, and like you're finishing one job and like trying to figure out where your next job's going to be, it's a tough racket. It's fun. A lot of people want to do it, and there's a lot of stuff to do out there, and it can be super rewarding, but it's work.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna end it here, and hopefully the next time we talk, you'll have some other thing to talk about, and
I hope so. That'll hold me to it, and that way I'll do it.
Yeah. But I just want to thank Mike for taking the time out and coming on the show here. Really appreciate.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, as I say, and all that, and. I hope that people, will go to, if you like this show and if you want to see other films, interviews of people on the Animateducated, please subscribe. And as soon as something pops up new, it'll pop up on your wherever you are. And you can always go to animatededucated.blogspot.com to see what's coming up. And I want to thank you guys for listening to the Ambassador Good Time Ear Tango Radio Hour and all that. So good night from Burbank, California. And if you have any questions, I should tell you, what are your Instagram and all that information for people that want to get in contact with you or whatever, see your work.
The Mike Owens Productions website. You'll get to see a lot of my work in real. And Instagram is at The Real Mike Owens. But all that stuff is, if you go to my website, everything else is there. We'll direct you in the right place.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there just to kind of get inspired by and all that. And we got Aaron Johnson who says, great interview. Thanks. Hey. So there we go.
Us Columbia people stick together.
Yeah, exactly. So we got a bunch of them out there. Yeah, so I want to thank you again for coming on the show, and
it was fun.
Yeah, just keep doing it, Mike. Just keep working on stuff, and
I'll do what I can. Tomatoes are next.
Tomatoes are next, or tomatoes, yes.
Exactly.